If you have IBS, should you be on the low FODMAP diet? Is the low FODMAP diet the best diet for IBS? The answer might surprise you, especially coming from an IBS dietitian. The low FODMAP diet should not be a first-line treatment for IBS. And in this video, I will go over 6 important reasons for why this is. And these reasons are those that I really hear almost no one talking about. Reason 1, food does not cause IBS, and FODMAPs, they don't cause IBS. FODMAPs are these tiny little fibers that no one can digest or absorb. So it doesn't matter who is eating FODMAPs, the same thing happens. They will travel to the large intestine, where our gut microbes can definitely digest them. So they will have a party with those FODMAPs, create gas, and perhaps even a little bit faster transit of food inside the intestine. But like I said, this is normal. Everyone will have the same effect in their gut. So what is the difference between someone with IBS and someone who doesn't have IBS? Well, if you have IBS, you are more sensitive to anything that's going on in the gut. So if you have a little bit more gas in there because of FODMAPs, then your gut is going to feel this much more easily than other people will. So it's a normal phenomenon, but you just feel it because of visceral hypersensitivity. So FODMAPs aren't actually dangerous, and this fermentation that creates and causes the gas production is actually good for you. That's the funny thing about it. FODMAPs are prebiotics that are really good for us because they feed those friendly, healthy gut bacteria. So then the unhealthy, the pathogenic bacteria cannot thrive. And if we take those FODMAPs away, the food of these good gut bacteria, the chances are that the abundance and balance of the gut microbes will change, allowing for those pathogenic bacteria to thrive and cause us problems. So it could be very counterintuitive, the effect of reducing FODMAPs in the diet. Reason 2. When you restrict your diet, especially in a big way like you would with a low FODMAP diet, you will become more observant of your gut and what's happening in the digestive system. And being more observant all the time, listening to the gut, can actually make your gut more sensitive. Then you will feel everything. I would recommend to try to ignore what's going on in the gut if you can, so that you don't start sensing things what you shouldn't or what you don't need to. And the brain doesn't have as much opportunity to wrongly interpret signals coming from the gut, which could lead to feeling of pain or discomfort. So try to ignore rather than follow what's going on with the gut all the time. Reason 3. The low FODMAP diet is a complicated diet, and it's very likely that it causes stress. I was just recently giving a lecture to a group of people with gastrointestinal illnesses, and there was this man in the back. When I was talking about the FODMAP diet and stress, he put his hand up and he said, yeah, I went on the diet and I got so stressed out and my symptoms got worse. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Stress is a very well-known culprit for gut symptoms. If you have stress and if you have sensitivity to stress, then it's very likely that your gut will react in a way that you would not want to. And so starting a diet like the low FODMAP diet, you might be wondering, am I doing this right? Does this food have FODMAPs? Is this food actually low FODMAP like it should be? You know what I mean? And you'll be more stressed out. And that's when you cannot get the results you're looking for from the diet. You can't really tell if a food is a problem for you or if it's not. Stress is always going to make it harder to interpret the results of the diet. Again, a reason why not to do it, or if you do it, to do it with a dietitian who really knows what they're doing. Reason 4, diet restrictions can easily lead to fear of foods. And this is a problem because fear is something that triggers the stress response in the body, which so easily leads to symptoms in people with IBS. Just imagine, let's say you started the low FODMAP diet, maybe your symptoms got better for a little bit. Now you make an association. It must have been the food that caused my problems. Okay, that makes sense. But now you are blaming the foods, which makes you kind of concerned about the foods you eat, a little bit apprehensive, maybe even fearful. And even worse, what if your symptoms get a little bit better and then they get worse again? What do you think then? Okay, maybe there's a food I'm still not tolerating well and I have to figure out what that is. And now you're looking at all foods, kind of wondering if this could be the food, if that could be the food. And it is almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You expect something to cause you problems, and then it will. So being fearful toward eating, toward foods, is really very counterintuitive to what you're trying to do with the diet. Number 5 is something that I do hear people talk about, which is the risk of nutrient deficiencies. When you remove a lot of food from your diet, and especially if you don't replace them with something else that has the same nutrients, then there are big chances of you becoming deficient in some vitamins or minerals. Fiber is a big one with the low FODMAP diet. If you become deficient in nutrients, whatever it may be, your body, your gut, does not have all the building blocks, all the pieces to their machinery that they need to be well. So again, really it could be more harmful than good if you go on the low FODMAP diet, especially if you're not getting help from a professional who knows this diet and how to follow it in a safe way. And number 6 is a little bit similar to the previous point. The gut microbes that I've already mentioned earlier, and how the FODMAPs are food to these gut microbes. Studies show that the abundance of certain bacteria, good bacteria in the gut, especially something like bifidobacteria, go down as a response to the low FODMAP diet. So basically, you can cause dysbiosis of your gut microbiota with this diet, especially if you're not doing it right. So the microbes in your guts are really in a big role when it comes to gut health, even brain health and metabolic health. So it is very important to keep them balanced. Keep the abundance of good bacteria high and the abundance of pathogenic, illness-causing bacteria low. And the only way of doing this is to feed them the food they need. And FODMAPs are food that the healthy gut bacteria really love. So you should never take out all FODMAPs from your diet. In that way also, it's very important to consider very carefully whether this is the right thing for you. And if you do decide to try it, that you do it with an expert who can help you do this the right way so that you won't waste time and effort. Because if you go into something like this, something so complex, something so difficult, something so different from what you're doing before, you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way from the beginning, because otherwise, wasted effort, a lot of stress, and it's just not a fun diet, you know? And let's add a 7th piece. You are supposed to avoid healthy foods. That's a little bit hard for me also to swallow. I mean, I get it. I understand the mechanism, which we can talk about in a different video. Do comment below if you'd like to know the mechanism why FODMAPs cause problems, not just the gas part of it. But these are healthy foods like cherries, apricots, whole grains, beans, lentils. These are healthy foods, and the diet asks us to avoid them. You know, not my favorite thing to do from that perspective either. If you really want to ease your IBS symptoms, the low FODMAP diet is probably not the answer. Instead, what I recommend is to look into methods that calm the gut-brain axis to start with. And the reason is that the gut-brain axis is what is actually behind IBS, the root cause of IBS. Gut-brain axis, what is it? It's a communication problem between your brain and your gut. And by calming it, you begin to see real improvement. And that is a topic that I discuss in this video, so see you there.